Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Hi, thanks for joining me today. I thought it would be fun to provide some inspiration in regards to children's books. In this episode, you're going to hear 6 different samples from audiobooks that we have produced, and they represent a range of children's books from those for very young children to those who are about, say 12 years old or so. The narrator, of course, needs to stay conscious of the age of the child, or the age range that the audiobook is supposed to be for, so that they can deliver the text appropriately. That's not to say that we talk down to young children, not at all, but really rather that we tune into where they are as listeners and try to be in that space with them. So the first example is for very young children, and this one is called Fernando Invents Socks. This is by Brad Pohl, who is somebody that I interviewed on an earlier episode, and this is a title that I narrated. So here's a sample from Fernando Invents Socks. On an icy seashore in a land far away, Fernando, a penguin, was full of dismay. He was exploring with Judith, his friend from abroad, a normal brown chicken out seeing the world. "Look at all this junk," he unhappily cried, as he gazed at the trash washing in on the tide. On a closer look, it seemed mostly string. For animals and birds, string's a terrible thing. It gets in our ears and gnarls up our feet. And don't get me started on tangled up beaks. Fernando walked on, lost in thought. It was some time before he knew he was caught. When he found he was snagged, he panicked at first, thinking it was a sea lion or something much worse. But it wasn't a sea lion. It was long yellow string. Phew! Wrapped around his feet and his flippery wing. He looked around for Judith, then let out a sigh. She was tangled up too and lying nearby. Oops! So here they were, stuck and couldn't get free, on a freezing seashore near the half-frozen sea. Predators were around. Day would soon become night. And all the other penguins were far out of sight. The future looked bleak. What would they do? They were helpless ingredients for sea lion stew. The next one is by Susan Pace Cook. She has written several books for children, several of which we have produced the audiobooks for. This particular one is called A Pie for a Pig. You might think of this a little bit like the pie of the month. So there are a different pie flavor for each month of the year. And so each one of those different pie flavors also has a different flavor of music. I also narrated this one. Here's a sample from Susan Pace Cook's A Pie for a Pig.
Come on by. It's time for pie.
At the table, friends will meet, waiting for a tasty treat. Lemon Meringue by Presley Pig. Lemon meringue is very cool. Fluffy peaks and valleys rule.
Chocolate by Perry Pig. Chocolate cream with a swirl. Lovely gift for my sweet pearl.
Key lime by Miss Paisley Pig. The key lime pie is sublime. Think I need some hammock time. Rhubarb by Paddy Pig. Rhubarb is my pie of choice. Strong flavors and so moist. Banana by Miss Peppa Pig. Banana cream tastes most divine. Favorite pie of picky swine.
This next one has a very different flavor, but it's also for very young children. It is written and performed by the very famous musician Buffy Ford Stewart, and the title is The Blanket and the Bear. It's a very sweet, tender story. Lovely. I hope you enjoy.
The little farm was warm in June. The jasmine trees were still in bloom. A gentle peace had filled the air, and singing came from everywhere. Underneath the walnut tree sat two girls, one more made three, singing songs dressed in long white gowns, with all their friends gathered round. A bear with piglet, ducks, and dolls. Some were big and some were small. And in the middle sat a glorious bear, and a beautiful blanket he was holding there. The blanket and the bear had a special love that seemed to be different than what the others shared. So Jenny and Lisa, the identical twins, with their little sister Katie, like seraphims, came to tell you their story. A magic one, too. It's a story of love, especially for you.
The next one up is by Shalise Bahari. The title is Prince and His Mother's Crown, and it's narrated by Tyra Kennedy, and the descriptions of the illustrations were narrated by me. This is a really interesting project because what she wanted to do, she's a blind author. She wants really to serve the visually impaired and blind children as well as sighted children. And so the illustrations, which are lovely, were described as a part of our process and then narrated, thus making the illustrations more accessible to the full range of children that this book was written for. This again is Prince and His Mother's Crown by Shalise Bahari.
My mother wears a crown of hair, and I call her my queen. My daddy thinks she is beautiful, and she calls him her king. My mother's hair is strong and thick. Her secrets lie within her hair. I will tell you all of the wonderful things within my mother's hair. My mother's hair smells of nature, fruits, and berries full of life. My mother not only makes a great mom, she also makes a great wife. Within my mother's hair, Her curls make me feel safe. Sometimes she wears it in a bun. Sometimes she wears it straight.
Let's take a short pause, and we'll come back and hear a couple titles from books that are for a slightly older audience.
Looking for a way to bring your children's book to life in an engaging way for young ones? At Pro Audio Voices, we bring together decades of experience with audio production, teaching, and parenting to craft a listening experience that will delight children and parents alike. If you're looking for an experienced team to bring your children's book to life in audio, check out proaudiovoices.com.
This next sample is from Jackson and Kevin's Black History Trip Downtown by Tamara Shiloh. This is the second book in the series that we've produced, and one of the interesting things about this particular approach in this book was that because she has historical figures that literally kind of pop into Jackson's life, it felt like it was an opportunity to create that experience for the listener. And the way that we did that was we had narrators who would do just those voices that pop in, so they stand out from the primary narrator's voice. So this again is Jackson and Kevin's Black History Trip Downtown by Tamara Shiloh. This is part of the series that's Just Imagine What If There Were No Black People in the World. And although you won't hear all of these voices in the short clip that we're presenting here, the cast for this project is Tyra Kennedy is the main narrator, with voices by Trey Mosley, Damon Allums, and Marlon Cooley.
Jackson sits up and jumps out of bed. Saturday is finally here. Cousin Kevin will be here soon. He stretches and then looks around the room to make sure everything is in its place. It's a habit he started after his Black History adventure last month. Ceiling stars and starships? Check. Spaceship posters? Check. Baseball equipment? Check. Desk, chair, laptop? Check, check, check. Okay, I really need to stop doing this. Last month, Jackson discovered that the necklace his grandmother gave him before she passed away is magic. He was talking to his sister about a question that had popped into his head and was bothering him. By accident, he activated the necklace's magic by saying the magic words, "Just imagine," before he asked the question, what if there were no black people in the world? Luckily, because of the way the magic works, he and his family didn't disappear. But all the other black people did. That was very scary, but it only lasted until he undid his wish. Everything invented by African Americans disappeared too, which turned out to be a lot of things.
This last sample that we're going to present is from Swamp Mysteries by Elizabeth Singer Hunt. One of the cool things that we did together on this project was that we created both a podcast of the book and then also the full audiobook for purchase. This sample that I'm going to play now is just the intro of the audiobook, but it'll give you a good flavor for what the feel of this book was like. And it's actually a sample from the podcast, so you will hear that, and then you'll also hear the names of the actors that were narrating for this project. I hope you enjoy it. This is Swamp Mysteries by Elizabeth Singer Hunt.
Welcome to Swamp Mysteries, the treasure of Jean Lafitte, a spooky new audio adventure story for children by author Elizabeth Singer Hunt. Performed by Rachel Rosick and Jordan Paul Haro. Charlie, Oscar, Robbie, and Jules are ordinary 12-year-old kids. That is, until they discover the long-lost treasure map of the notorious pirate, Jean Lafitte. Soon, a couple of greedy alligator hunters are on their tails, as are the ghouls from the nearby swamps. If the friends are going to make it out alive, they're gonna need more than luck. They're gonna need the help of the ghostly inhabitants of Plantation View, Louisiana.
And that's it for today. I hope you've had fun listening to these samples from children's books. If you are a children's book writer and would like to explore the possibility of what your book might sound like in audio with a soundtrack along the lines of any of these projects, I'd love to talk with you. You can schedule a call at proaudiovoices.com. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.